Here we are at DuPont State Park in North Carolina. Behind me you can see a waterfall and popular swimming hole where people hang out. Today we're going to talk about people's interaction with nature. I'm Mr. Coulter and this is Human Geography. Today we move on to topic 1.5 of Unit 1, which is human-environment interaction. The relationship between humans and the natural world is at the heart of human geography. That connection between people and their environment is called human-environment interaction. And we're going to look at cultural ecology, sustainability, pollution, and environmental issues as we talk about this. Starting with cultural ecology, it is the study of how humans adapt to the environment. So how do we change in order to be with the environment? So if you look at people who live in extremely cold climates, the creation of igloos or ice fishing would be an adaptation. People using thick furs for warmth, all are adaptations to survive to Arctic and subarctic climates. We can see here in Southeast Asia where people have adapted the landscape. They've cut into the side of mountains in order to make terrace farms where they're able to farm even though they're on steep surfaces. So they create their own flat surfaces to farm on. And that's cultural ecology. It used to be that people would look at the cultural ecology and think that people were constrained by their environment. That was environmental determinism. That is different than possibilism, which is the more common current way of looking at the world. So let's focus on environmental determinism first. So that is the belief that landforms and climate are the most powerful things that shape human behavior and the way societies develop. So people would say that environmental determinism said that if you were from a certain climate, you would probably do certain things. And in the 19th and 20th centuries, some people argued that people from certain climates or parts of the world were superior to those of others. We're going to talk about it in Unit 4 when we get into political geography, but this is a way that Europeans justified their imperial actions towards people of other continents. So it used racism as a way to say, well, the reason why we're able to do this and conquer these people is because they're from these climates. And so that was one way that in Unit 4 we'll see that the Europeans justified their colonial powers. So environmental determinism implies that physical environment affects and causes human social development. But let's look at possibilism, which is the opposite of that. So in reaction to this view came the idea of possibilism. That's a view that acknowledges the limits on the effects of the natural environment, and it focuses more on the role that human culture plays. So different cultures may respond to the same environment in different ways, depending on their beliefs, goals, and available technologies. So we see people all over the world in similar climates reacting to different things and making different societies. So like we said, environmental determinism is that the environment determines your culture, where possibilism says that the environment has pieces of your culture and that there are limits of the environment, but really cultural factors are just as important, if not more important. So here are some examples of possibilism at work. You used to think that we couldn't build something like this, that we were limited to what the land was. But in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates, right off the coast, they were able to build the Palm Islands, where they shaped it like a palm tree. It took them only 4 years, and they brought in 53 million pounds of sand and 12 million pounds of rock to create this island chain that's like a resort and living area. It's pretty awesome. Another great example is the Hoover Dam, which was constructed in the 1930s. It is utilized as the supply power and water to the nearby Las Vegas, Nevada. So Las Vegas could not exist without the Hoover Dam. And it's in the middle of the desert where they dammed up the river and they were able to generate a huge amount of power. And a fun fact, when I was 6 years old, I climbed up on that wall and I ran along it until my grandpa grabbed me and pulled me off of it because they were worried I was going to fall. And I got a lot of trouble for that. So there you go. This right here is the Incan terrace farming. We saw a picture of it earlier when it was in Southeast Asia. In Southeast Asia, they grow rice in these terraced farms, but the Incan people grew things like potatoes and other hardy vegetables. And they changed the landscape even back in like 1100 in order to be able to farm on this mountainous landscape. So possibilism is the idea that people can do some pretty amazing things. So let's look at sustainability. Sustainability is talking about natural resources and the way that we live. So natural resources are substances that are found in the environment that are useful to people. There are two types. There are renewable resources that can be created faster than they're used, and then there are non-renewable resources that cannot be replenished at the same rate. So like wind is an example of a renewable resource. It constantly is blowing. It's not something that you have to make, and it is like created at a rate that you could use it. Non-renewable would be like oil or coal, where we have a finite amount of that in the earth, and once we've used it up, it's been used up. We can't replenish it or create it. So sustainability, the whole idea is it's the ability to meet humanity's current needs without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their needs. So it's saying, how can we get enough energy for our generation without burning up all of our fuel so that your generation or your children's generation don't run out of those things that they need? That's the idea of sustainability. That is all for topic 1.5, human environment interactions. Let's remember the big points. That cultural ecology is the study of how people interact with their environments. That at one point people believed that environmental determinism meant that people were defined by their environments and their climates. But possibilism is the more common way that people look at it now, where they see that people can change and morph based on their culture. And then we also talked about sustainability and natural resources and how do we use the resources we have without making it so the next generation can't. That's just one more step in our journey to better understand our world. I'm Mr. Coulter, and this was Human Geography.